Hello everybody, it's Crystal. So I have a crochet tutorial for you today. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this bag here. Now as you've seen in the picture, it does have a matching bucket hat here, or rimmed hat to go with it. I will put a link to the tutorial for this in the description box. Alright, they are both reversible, so you could wear them either side. The stitches reversible, so that's kind of what it looks like on the hat. Well, it's not all the way reversed, but like that. I also talk about in the tutorial how you can leave this wire off the hat and make it just a regular bucket hat. I think on the hat I do prefer it like this, but anyways, this tutorial is not about the hat, but I just wanted to say that I do have a matching hat for this bag, so look in the description box for the tutorial for that. This tutorial is for this bag here, so why don't we talk about the bag. First off, it is a reversible bag. So it has the beads are I don't know, they came from Walmart I think, but if you flip it inside out, it has the same stitch as the hat does if you flip it inside out as well. So let me go ahead and take a peek. Okay, so this is actually the right side of what this stitch technically looks like. This is the right side of it. I like it both ways myself, but yes, this is the right side. And as you can see, it does have a flat bottom. And then you can flip it the other way, like I showed on the hat. And this is actually the wrong side of the stitch, but I like it as well. So there is really no right or wrong way. It's just whichever way you like it. Maybe you want to wear it one way one day and one day the next. You know, it's completely up to you. It's your bag. But as you can see, this is what it looks like on the other. So, okay, as you can see, it is kind of a bigger bag. Let me get a tape measure and we'll do some measurements. So it does have a base on it. Now the base itself isn't the size. It's about 14.5 inches. I'm just doing the single crochet base here. By almost 5, 4 3/4 of an inch. It's the base itself. Now if I was to fold it and pull it out here, let's see how long and tall the bag is here. So lengthwise, it's running about 21 inches. It was way bigger before I did decreases at the top. It was such a big bag. It's still a really big bag. Now if I put the base out like this, as you can see, it kind of goes around at the bottom. And I go all the way to the top where this short brim is. We'll take a measurement of that. It is about 13 inches to the bottom. 13.5. all right, and we'll take another quick peek here what we got going on up here. So what we have up here, what I did was you don't have to do this. I do tell you in the video on how you can make your own handles if you want. Now if you do not want to make your own handles, please refer to the description box. You'll find the link to that hat. Not only will you find the link to the hat tutorial, you'll find a link to these particular handles, which I bought on Amazon. You don't have to use them, but if you want them, I'll leave a link to them. And also, these are called D-rings, because as you can see, they're shaped like a D. I think they're 1¼ inch D-rings. You can buy these at Walmart or wherever you want, but I will leave a description. And I will leave a link in the description where I got mine. I purchased a lot of them off or a bundle of them off Amazon to use for bags. So as you can see, they have a short strap which holds the D-ring, and these clip onto them. Now that's not anything that you have to do. Like I said, I do tell you how you can make, you know, short strap, 2 short straps, 2 long straps, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. It's your bag. You do it however you want. But that's how I did this one. I think it turned out really nice. I like it a lot. It's a nice big bag. And like I said, these beads, I do believe, maybe came from Walmart, or I don't know where they came from. They were in a drawer of beads and whatnot that I have. So I just hung them on there for decoration. So now you know the deets on the bag, and that it's reversible, and it's cool either way, and it's a big market bag. Let me move it, set it to the side, and it has a matching reversible hat. How cool is that? Let's go ahead and talk about the yarn that was used. So the yarn for that hat was the same yarn that was used for the bag. So this is from Ice Yarns. It is called their Noble Cotton Print. This is the color that he used, 80818. It is a medium weight number 4, 100% cotton yarn. Feels really nice too. And you can see that it's variegated. You do not have to use this yarn. Any medium weight number 4 yarn will work just fine. I think there's about 185, 190 yards in one ball of these. You're probably going to need about 710, 720 yards maybe to finish the bag out the size that I did. Now, of course, if you want to make your own handles, you're going to need more. And that took pretty much most of all four balls. So you might want to pick up an extra ball if you're going to be making your own handles, or if you are going somewhere else that has this cotton like this. Joann's has a nice cotton that's probably not the same colors, but just as it's pretty much exactly the same as this, same yardage, I think 180 yards or something, and it feels exactly the same, probably the same yarn, just different colors. Their KC cotton would be a great substitute. Hobby Lobby, I love this cotton. I know a lot of people like that. I think that's pretty much the same yarn as well. The 4-weight version of it, I think it has 180 yards too, but you don't have to use that either. You can go to Walmart and get some Peaches and Cream cotton, which would work well too. Just make sure that you get enough. I'm not sure how many yards are in a bowl of Peaches and Cream, or you can get the big cone as well. I'm not sure how many yards are in that either, but as long as it's a 4-weight cotton, any cotton will be just fine. And then for the bag, I used a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. All right, I did use a different size for the hat, but when you watch this tutorial for that, you will see. But for the bag, this is the tutorial for the bag. Use the H. Do you guys want to go ahead and get started on it? Well, let's do it then. All right, let's do this. All right, to start the base of the bag, I'm just going to show you on a smaller scale. You want to chain 53 stitches. 53 is the number that we need, all right? And once you get your chain of 53 done, we're going to do a single crochet in the second chain from our hook. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch for the length of our chain. All right, now remember, mine's smaller, but you'll want to chain a 53. And do 1 single crochet until you make it to the end. All right, so when you make it to the end of row 1, you should now have 52 stitches. It's very important that you keep that number of 52. So from what we're going to do now is just chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet into that very first stitch. And we're just going to be doing rows of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So when you make it to the end of the row, you'll have 52 single crochets. And then you'll chain 1 and turn, and you'll do 1 single crochet in every stitch again. And when you make it to the end of the row, you'll have 52 single crochets. Now you want to continue doing rows of single crochet, 52 stitches at the end of every row, until you get a total of 20 rows. All right, so the base is consisting of 20 rows, 52 single crochets in each row. All right, so we got our 20 rows done for the base, but we need to go around it with single crochet. Now, this part's very important because there's a specific number that we have to have. Otherwise, the stitch that we're going to use will not work out correctly. So you've done your 20 rows, and we're just going to continue, like right here, we did our 20 rows. We're just going to continue working down now the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chain one. It doesn't count as a stitch or anything, but then I'm just going to kind of work down this side. Now it's very important that we get the stitches in the correct spot. I'm going to try to show you the best that I can. So you will have to have 19 stitches down this side. All right, I'm going to try to show you the best that I can where they need to go. So the first one is going to go right here where we put our last single crochet here. It's going to go right into that spot. All right, so that would be number 1. And now we kind of just work down, and we go put a single crochet at the end of every single row. And if you look, you can see I'm going in between the last stitch and the second to the last stitch. I just go right like that, and that would be number 2. You just got to do it carefully, because sometimes the rows they get tight and you might miss it. You just want to make sure you don't miss it. So we don't want to mess up our stitch count here. That would be 3 right here. Is 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see how I'm just going. Here's the last on the row. Here's the last stitch, going right in between it like that. Don't be afraid to pull them apart so you can see them. Alright, coming down here near the end, this is number 18 for me. And then number 19 actually goes right there. So here's here's the chain that we started. Our very beginning chain that we worked in. Number 19 is going to be right above that. So remember, you have to have that 19 stitches. So it's important to have that 19 across there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the bottom side, or whatever this side this is. This was our beginning chain here. You can see my tail down here. And in the very first stitch right here, the very first one, we're going to work 3 single crochets all into that same stitch to help round the corner. There's 1, 2, and there's 3, like that. Okay, now we're going to work all the way across the bottom, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to this very last corner here. Sometimes it gets tight because your chain tightens up a little bit, but it's the one that oh yeah, mine tightened up. It's the one that there we go, very last corner, your chain where your knot's at. That's going to be our corner right there. All right, now it's very important that you count that as a corner. So I'm going to continue working across. Now, not counting these 3 stitches that you just worked. Okay, don't count those. We'll have 50 single crochets when we get to that corner. All right. Not counting those 3, we work across, and when we reach that corner, we will have made 50 single crochets. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can pretty much see them pretty good here. So this is 1 in every stitch all the way across, and I'll meet up with you at that corner down there. Alright, so I've made it down here to my last stitch, and remember, not counting those 3 in the corner, you should have 50 across, and I do. So now we're going to work in this corner, and remember, like I said, it does get tight here, so make sure you pull it out and don't miss it. And we're going to put 3 single crochets into that spot. Normally I wouldn't be such a stickler on keeping up the stitch count, but it's pretty important for this one, so we'll do the best that we can to try to keep it on the correct. Okay, so we're putting 3 in that one. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now remember, those 3 stitches don't count towards your 50. We're not counting any of the corner stitches, okay, as anything. They're on their own, the corner stitches. So now we're going to be working up this side, and again, we have to have 19. Remember, we're not counting that corner stitch, so we'll go ahead and we're going to do it the same way we did the other side, and we will just start and keep count as best as you can, and go 1 single crochet at the end of every row. So that's 2 for me. 3 for me. See, sometimes, like I said, don't be scared to just jerk it apart and make so you get the right stitch. We don't miss any. Because some you'll miss if you don't pull them apart. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and work on up until I make it up here to this very first stitch at the top. Alright, well, I'll meet right up here with you down here at the end. Alright, so I'm going to continue along. Remember, the number here is 19, just as it was. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. We all know that sound, don't we? I don't even know what happened because my hook is still in my hand. I have no idea what happened there. Alright, so I will meet up with you down here. Alrighty, I'm coming up here to the end. Now remember, not counting the 3 in the corner, we need 19. So I have 18 so far, and the last one is going to go right here in this spot below this first stitch at the top. And that is the 19 that I need for this side. Now we're going to work across the top here. And again, it needs to be the same as the bottom. So in the very first stitch up here at the top, we're going to put 3 single crochets in that stitch. 1, all into the same stitch. 1, there's 2, and there is 3. And now we're going to continue working across the top, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And like the bottom, we should have 50 stitches, not counting these 3 in the corner, whenever you come back down here and we make it to the very last stitch that we did. Not counting that one and not counting the 3 in the corner, we should have 50 in between those. Alright, so make sure you keep count, and I'll meet up with you at that very last stitch. Alright, so not counting the 3 in the corner, I have 50 across, and then I have 1 stitch left, which is the very last stitch here. This is the chain 1 here that we don't do anything with, but in this very last stitch here, 3 single crochets go into that. So there is 1, 2, and there's 3. Now what we're going to do is we are going to jump right over here to our first stitch. Which is right here. Remember, that is a chain 1, that doesn't count. So it's that first stitch. If it helps, you can count back, not from the corner, but from the last single crochet and count back 19. So you know you're going in the right one. And we are going to slip stitch into that last stitch. Now that will end that going around at the base. Now it's very important that you have 150 stitches now. If you do not have 150, you will need to go back and either add one or take one away, depending on if you're lacking or have too many, because at this point it needs to be 150. All right, so we got our 150. Base of the bag's done. We're going to start working the bag, the bag itself. It'll take a little bit to, form, but because, it'll lay flat probably for a bit, but eventually it will, it'll just work out. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to call this row 1 of the body of the bag. So we did a base, it's time for the body. We're going to chain 1. And now we're going to do a double crochet 5 together. Now, double crochet 5 together is worked over 5 stitches. So, I did a chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. What I'm going to do is yarn over. I'm going to go back into the exact same stitch there that I just slip stitched into. I yarned over. And I'm going to go into that one and draw up a loop. And I'm going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. So we need to do that over 5 stitches, and that was over the first one. Now we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. So we've done that twice. Again, we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. We have done that 3 times. Let's do it again. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 4 times, so we need to do that once more. We're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, which will leave 6 loops on your hook. When you yarn over and go through all 6 loops, just like that. Now, into the very, very next stitch, we're not going to skip any. We're going to work 5 double crochets all into that same stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is 5. Now those 2 stitches that we just did are going to be repeated all the way around for this row 1 here. We don't chain 1 after this, but now we're going to do a double crochet 5 together over the next 5 stitches. We do not skip any stitches in between these. So in this very next stitch here, I'm going to yarn over and go into it, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go to the first 2 loops. Remember, we need to do that over 5 stitches. That was number 1. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 2. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 3 times. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 4 times. One more time, we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and 6 loops should remain. We're going to go ahead and yarn over and go through all 6 loops that are on your hook, and then we will do a chain 1 to lock that into place. And we are going to jump directly into the next stitch and work 5 double crochets into that stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, and then we're going to repeat it again. Remember, we do not chain 1 whenever we put 5 together in the same stitch. Now we're going to work again the double crochet 5 together over the next 5 stitches. So we're going to yarn over, go directly into the next stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go to the first 2. So that was 1. We need to do it over 5. Yarn over and go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go to the first 2. That's 2 times. Yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go to the first 2. That's 3 times. Yarn over and go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 4 times. One more time. We're going to yarn over and go into the next, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, 6 loops remain, yarn over and go through all 6, chain 1 to lock it. Repeat it again by going into the very next stitch and working a 5 double crochets, oops, into that same stitch. So there's 1, 2, that's 3, and 4, and one more time makes 5. We do not chain 1 after that, and now we're just going to repeat it again. Now working around, it's okay if it's looking like it's poofing out or anything. It's supposed to, so it's cool. Don't worry about that. Now we're just going to keep repeating the double crochet together, double crochet 5 together and chain 1, and then 5 doubles into the next, and do not chain 1 after that one. And even around when we get to a corner, we just work it like regular stitches. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So right now we're doing a double crochet 5 together, and it's gonna go around a corner here. So they all might not go around a corner like that. Some might partially. You know, it doesn't matter really about the corners anymore. The corners are good. We're done with them. That's 3, 4, 5, 6 loops. Yarn over, go through all 6, chain 1 after that, maybe chain 1 after that, just like that, and that's it. This is what we're going to repeat all the way around until we get back to our starting point. 5 doubles into the next. I might say though, remember when you're doing these double crochet 5 together, sometimes they can pull tight, and it might appear that there's not a stitch there, but you have to look closely and you can see that there is one. So it's very important that you look close, because if you accidentally go into the same stitch twice, it's really going to throw that stitch count of 150 off, and it won't work when we get to the other side or to the beginning. So this is 5 doubles into the stitch. That's 4 and 5. All right, so I'm just going to repeat this all the way around until I get over here towards the end, and that's where I'll see you. All right, so I'm coming to the end. If you look at your piece, you know, some of the poofs are sticking out and whatnot. That's fine. This will be like the right side of your work though, so in actuality it'll go up like that. Eventually it will, because you want the right side of your double crochets to be showing. But anyways, so I just did 5 double crochets into this stitch. Now if you look closely, you should have 6 stitches that remain after that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 6th one is right here. And that's what we're going to do now, is the double crochet 5 together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you chain 1 after that last one. Now in your last stitch here, remember this is a chain 1 here, so we don't count that, right? This stitch right here, it will get 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, sorry about that, 4. All right, and there is 5. Now we have no stitches left, and that's what we want. We started with a double crochet 5 together, and we ended here with 5 doubles into the last stitch. So everything lines up. Remember, that is a chain 1 from the row before, so we don't count that. We're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching. We want to slip stitch into the top of this double crochet 5 together, like that, and that will end row 1 there of the bag. And we're going to go ahead and start row 2, but we need to slip stitch over to this space, this eye of this 5 double crochet together, or the chain 1 that we made there. Slip stitch into that, and this is where we will begin row 2. So we slip stitch there into that chain 1 space of the double crochet, first double crochet 5 together. At the end of row 1 here of the the main part of the bag, you here and here on out, you should always have 50 of these, whether total of the shells, all of them, like 25 of the 5 double crochets in the same stitch, and 25 of the double crochet 5 together. So there's 50 of each of the sets of stitches all the way around, and that's the count you're going to want to keep. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start row 2. So rows 2 and 3 are going to be the repeat rows for the rest of it, for the main part of it anyways. All right, for the main part of it. So row 2, we're starting out here into the eye of this double crochet 5 together. We're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and in the eye of that we are actually going to put 5 double crochets into the eye, or that chain 1 space from the previous row. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, all in that eye there. Sorry, my camera was going blurry. I had to fix that. All right, and here is the 5 double crochets in the same stitch from the previous row. What we're going to do is we're going to do double crochet 5 together, front post. It's going to be front post, double crochet 5 together. So it's like this right here that we did before, except for we're working around the posts of these 5 stitches instead of in top of the stitches. So we're going to yarn over, and we go around the post of the first one like that, and draw up a loop and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next one. Remember, we're going in, this is being worked into the 5 double crochets that were put in the same stitch from the previous row. Draw up a loop, yarn over and go through 2 again, go around the post of the next double there, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 again, the next double, draw up a loop, yarn over and then go through the first 2 one more time. We're going to yarn over. You can see this is the 5th one that's in that spot. Go right through it, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. You should have 6 that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6, chain 1 to lock it, and this is what we're going to repeat all the way around now. So we're going to jump over here to the double crochet 5 together from the previous row. Now we're not going to do anything into this spot. We're going to be working all the time into the eye of that, of the double crochet 5 togethers, so, or the chain 1 space that we made after it, and in that spot it's kind of tight, but that's where we need to go. Gets 5 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, like that. And now we are going to repeat this all the way around. So right here in the previous row, you can see the 5 doubles that are in the same stitch. We're going to do a front post 5 double crochet together, just like we did. Double crocheting them all together, but we're working around the post, front of the post. Here's the last one. You can see 6 loops. Yarn over and go through all 6, chain 1, and that is what we are going to repeat all the way around. Alright, so I have come to the end of row 1 of the main part of the bag, and your last stitch should have been the 5 double crochets there in the last stitch. So what we're going to do to end round 1 is we're going to slip stitch here into this chain 1 space of this very first 5 double crochet together. So not in this side of it here, but in that chain 1 space. It's kind of tight. We're going to slip stitch to that, and that'll end round 1. And you should have a total of 50 of these shells. So you'll have like 25 of the, where we put 5 double crochets into 1 stitch, and then you'll have 25 of the 5 double crochets together, so totaling 50. And that's the number that you'll have for the most part of the bag. So now we're going to start row 2. And okay, we're going to go ahead and start row 2. So what we're going to do is, I'm trying to think of what would be easier here. Okay, we're going to row 2 and 3 are the repeat rows for this particular pattern here. So we're going to slip stitch one time right over here to this first double crochet. Now you see these 5 double crochets here from the previous row that we put all in the same stitch. We are going to work, normally for this stitch you would work a back post stitches, but I think it would be very easier to work the front post stitches because we have to work them all together, like a generally we call for a back post 5 double crochet together, and sometimes that could be tricky. So what we're going to do is we are going to work front post 5 double crochet together over these 5 stitches that are in this 1 stitch here. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch. So we're going to be working these 5 stitches, and we're going to do a front post double crochet 5 together. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go around the post of the first double crochet of that group, and yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And we're going to do that across all 5 of the stitches. So that was the first one. Then we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. Again, we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. We're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. And there'll be one more there, so this will be the 5th one. We're going to yarn over and go around that 5th one there, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. You should have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6, and then we'll chain 1 to lock. Now we're going to jump over here to see this double crochet 5 together from the previous row. We're not going to work into this spot here. We're going to work into the chain 1 that we used to lock it. Now it's pretty tight, as I mentioned, but we're going to work 5 double crochets into this stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is 5. And as you can see, it's offset a bit. That's fine. That's how it's supposed to be. And now we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around. So again, we're going to You don't have to slip stitch over anything. We could begin by working a front post double crochet 5 together over these 5 stitches here that are together. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go around the post of the first one, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Alright, so I'm coming to the end of row 1 of the main portion of our bag. In your last stitch, you should have had 5 double crochets into the same stitch, and we're going to end by slip stitching into our first double crochet 5 together. Now we're not going to slip stitch into this space here. We're going to be slip stitching actually into this chain 1 space. Now it does get a little tight, but to go ahead and slip stitch into that, and that's going to end round 1. And you should have a total of 25 of the double crochet 5 togethers and 25 of where we put 5 double crochets into every stitch. So a total of 50 of these shell or 5 double crochet together, a total of 50 all the way around. And that's the number that we're going to keep for the most part of the bag. And now we're going to start row 2. So row 2 and 3 are the repeat rows. And I was thinking just a bit to try to make it a little bit easier. First off, what we're going to do is chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. We're going to go right back into this chain 1 space that we just slip stitched into, and we're going to work 5 double crochets into that spot. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. So now we're going to move on to the next. And if you look, it is the 5 double crochets that are in the same stitch from the previous row. Now normally this part, we would do a back post double crochet 5 together. And that can get a little tricky. So what we're going to do is we are going to work front post double crochet 5 together. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go around this first double crochet, the post of it, and we're going to draw up a loop, and we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. And we have to do that over these 5 stitches here. So that was 1. Again, we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. We're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. Yarn over and go around the post of the next double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. And if you look, there is 1 more here that we need to do that's in there. So this will be number 5. Yarn over and go around that post of that double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and you should have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6 like that, and then we chain 1 to lock that into place. Now we're just going to repeat that. So we are going to jump over here. So here's the double crochet 5 together from the previous row. We're not going to go into this big open space here, but we're going to go into this chain 1 space right here, and we're going to work 5 double crochets into that spot. So there's 1 and 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Now it will be a little offset because that's how it's supposed to be. And again, we're going to work the front post double crochet 5 together over these 5 stitches from the previous row that all went into this 1 stitch. So again, we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the first 1, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2. yarn over and go around the post of the next double crochet, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. Yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. And you can see there'll be one more left here. That's in that same spot. So this will be the 5th one. Yarn over and go around that last double crochet there. Draw up a loop. Yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. 6 loops remain. Yarn over and go through all 6 and chain 1. And this is the pattern that we're going to repeat all the way around. Again, we will put 5 double crochets into this chain 1 space. Like I said, it does get very tight, but we don't want to go into this big gap here. It just makes it bigger. So we're going to yarn over and go, like I said, it's tight. It gets tight, but there we go. 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is 5. And again, we will repeat. So the next stitch from the previous row is where we put 5 double crochets in the same stitch. So we're going to do the front post double crochet 5 together. It sounds long, but it's not hard. You got this. You got this. So we're going to yarn over and go around the post of that first stitch, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2. Yarn over around and go around the post of the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Again, yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go around the post of the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. And there should be one more that remains to make number 5, and there it is. Yarn over and go through around the post of that last one, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, 6 loops that remain, yarn over and go through all 6, chain 1, and repeat. So here I would jump right over here to this chain 1 space that's extremely tight and hard to get into, but that's okay. We can do it. There we go. And we work 5 double crochets. Now we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. Now I'm going to show you what we're doing here and why I chose to work it different than normal, but it's still going to look the same. Like I mentioned, it's just easier to work the front post double crochet 5 together than it is a back post double crochet 5 together. And we don't want to make things difficult if we don't have to, because there's a very easy solution. We're going to do it this way all the way around. Keep repeating what we've been doing. And then when the time comes and we get the bag where we want it to be, we will just flip up our work, and this will be the correct side. As you can see, it makes ridges, the back post. And this is what the stitch is supposed to look like. So we're working it on the inside of the bag, so we don't have to do those back posts. And if you like the looks of this, by all means, you can use this as your bag. But technically, the stitch I'm doing, I'll be flipping mine around when the time comes to this way, and then my bag will be facing this way on the outside. And this is what this stitch is supposed to look like. It has these ridges around. This is what the back post, or the front post created. It's what the back post would have created if we would have done it on this side. This would have been on this side, but it doesn't matter. We can just flip it and it's the same. So it's just easier to do it this way. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to continue working. So what I'm doing is kind of working on the inside of the bag, I guess. Yeah, it's going to look like this. And I'm working around kind of on the inside. So when it's done and I turn it around, this is what's going to be showing on the outside. The correct stitch. But by working it on the inside, we don't have to do the back post, which is much easier. All right, so I'm going to repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you when we make it to the end of row 2. And then we'll do row 3, and that will be the 2 rows that we need to repeat. All right, I'm coming to the end of row 2. So my last stitch was a front post, double crochet, 5 together, and I chained 1, and again we'll have 50 total of these clusters or whatever they are all together. And we're going to end by slip stitching into our first double crochet from where we put 5 double crochets into the same stitch. That will end row 2. Now we're going to go ahead and start row 3, which is the last repeat row. It's just rows 2 and 3. But why don't we go take a quick look real quick before we start. So I got my piece laid out like this, and I'm working around like this. And like I said, the stitch looks cool either way you do it. It looks cool like this. If you wanted it to look like that, you could do it like that. But technically, this is how the stitch is supposed to look. So you could do whatever way you want the stitch to look. That's the way you flip your bag. Whatever way you want it. You want this side to show, and then this roll it over and put these ridges to the inside. You want the ridges to show? Well, there they are. That's up to you. It's your bag. You know, not mine. It's yours. I'm probably going to have the ridges showing on mine though, because I think they're pretty cool. But I think both ways are pretty cool. So, anyways, now we're going to start row 3. Now, row 3 is the same as row 2. The only difference is we start and stop with the different stitch. They're opposites. So the last row, we started, you can see, with 5 double crochets into the same stitch. Well, this time we need to start with the front post double crochet 5 together over these 5 stitches. So that's the only difference. So we're going to chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch, and we will start in these 5 stitches here doing our front post double crochet 5 together over those 5 stitches in the beginning here. So as you can see, it's very easy. It's just 2 stitches that we're repeating and 2 rows, and the only difference in the rows is how they just end opposite of each other. That's it. 6 loops, yarn over and go through all 6, chain 1. And then we come over here to the next stitch, which is a double crochet 5 together from the previous row. Remember, we don't go in this big gap here. We have to go into this chain 1 space, and we work 5 double crochets into that tight chain 1 space. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, that didn't even go in the right spot. There we go. And 5, just like that. And remember, that will be catty cornered. That's fine. Again, repeat. There's 5 double crochets there from the previous row, all together in 1 stitch. So that means we got to do a front post double crochet 5 together. So over this stitch. So, like I said, you get those front post stitches down. It's extremely easy. It's very easy repeats. Now, I'm not quite sure how many times I'm going to repeat rows 2 and 3. I'm just gonna kind of keep going until I decide. I'm not even really sure what I'm gonna do to the top of the bag. If I'm gonna leave it pretty simple or if I'll do something different. I haven't decided. You know, I like to wing them. So I'm just going to keep working here, repeating rows 2 and 3. Remember, the only difference is we just start and stop with what we did on the stitch prior, or the row prior. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then our front post double crochet 5 together. So we're on row 3 now. And we just keep repeating rows 2 and 3. So this is one side that we could do. And here is what the other side will look like after many, many rows. And that's probably, I don't know, that's probably the side I'll use. I think I like the ribbing effect on that, but whatever you use. It's going to look cool, I know that. Whatever you decide. Alright, well, I'm going to keep rolling with this. And I'll tell you how many rows that I do total. Remember, I'm on row 3, and we're just repeating rows 2 and 3. Very simple. And, alright, I'll see you in a second. Alright, so I have done a total. Now, you can do more or less if you want. It's completely up to you. It's your bag, right? You do it how you want. Of 20 rows of this particular stitch here. So you remember, it's going to be reversible, so you could use any side that you want. This is one side. Technically, this is the right side, and this is the other. But I've done 20. Now, that's not counting any row of the base. So if you start counting, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to 20. All right. If you want it taller, that is completely fine. I am going to be adding a little bit of a brim on it. So that will take up a little bit of height. And also, I'll be putting some magnetic buttons on it. So what that does is, let me take my hook out here. It, will bring these in a little bit like that. Snap it together there so it's a little more square there, not flopping out on the ends. Alright, so once you get as many as you want, like I said, I've got 20 here. Not count any rows on the base. What am I going to do next? We need to make a brim on the top of it. So, I ended with the slip stitch into this double crochet 5 together. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch one time over here to where there are 5 double crochets in the same stitch. Now, if you ended there, that's fine. You don't have to slip stitch. But we want to be in that first double crochet of the 5 double crochets into the same stitch. Okay, so I want to put a kind of like a brimmy thing on top here, but I got to even out these rows a bit because you see how they dip down. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, let's chain 1 to start out. We're going to put a single crochet into these 5 double crochets here that are all together into this one stitch. So go back into that very first one and a single crochet in each of these 5 stitches. Sorry about my dog barking. There's 3, 4, and there's 5. Now, right here, we've come up to, in the previous row was a double crochet 5 together. Now, that makes the dip down. So, what I'm going to do is a half double crochet 2 together. So, I'll show you how we're going to do that. So, we're going to go, you see this big spot right here? Alright, so you see this kind of like gaping little spot right here. And then right here is the chain 1 that we normally put, that we were putting the 5 double crochets in before. So we're going to yarn over and go into that kind of big gaping spot and draw up a loop like that. And then we're going to yarn over again, and then we're going to go into that tight chain 1 spot where we were normally putting our 5 double crochets. And draw up a loop like that. And now you should have 5 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over and go through all 5. So what we just did was a half, okay. We half double crocheted 2 together, or it's also known as a half double crochet decrease, or whatever you call it. That's what we just did. So let's go ahead and now repeat that. So we're going to put a single crochet in each of these next 5 double crochets of this shell right here from the previous row. So 1 single in each of those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's the 5. And now we've come up to a half double crochet. I'm sorry, we've come up to where we put 5 double crochet togethers here. So we're going to do the half double crochet 2 together. So part of it goes in this big gaping hole here, and then the other part goes in this little bitty tiny hole that we worked in the previous rows. So we yarn over, go into that big gaping hole, and draw up a loop. Then we're going to yarn over and go into this little tight chain 1 space. That's where we worked, remember, our 5 double crochets before from the previous row. Draw up a loop, 5 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 5. So that took 2 stitches, made them into 1, half double crochet, 2 together, or a half double crochet decrease, whatever you call it. It seems to be even and out the row just nicely, and that's what we want to do. So we're just going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So again, you can see we have 5 double crochets together that form that shell from the previous row. Put 1 single crochet into each of those. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then a half double crochet 2 together, or a half double crochet decrease, whatever you choose to call it. It is the same in this big gaping spot here and this tiny tight spot here. So we're going to yarn over, go in that spot, draw up a loop, and then yarn over and go into that tight spot there, draw up a loop, 5 loops, yarn over and go through all 5, and repeat. Single crochet in the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, and then we'll do our half double 2 together, yarn over, go into that spot there, and we're going to yarn over and go to the tight spot next to it, draw up 5 loops, yarn over and go through all 5, and repeat. Yeah, that looks nice. That evened that out quite nicely. I'm happy with that. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around. It's 5 singles, and then the half double 2 together, all the way around until we get back here to our starting point. I'll meet up with you at this last shell here that I did, and then we'll figure out how we're going to decrease this one right down here. And then what we're going to do is we'll do some more decreasing on the top brim, and try to make it where it looks reversible, the same on both sides. All right, let's continue this. I'll meet back up with you at our starting point. All right, so I've made it around here back to my starting point, and I did 5 single crochets in each of these doubles from the previous row. And then we have this one spot here left. And here's where we started, right here. So normally we would do like the half double crochet 2 together, but we're just going to go ahead and go into this spot here and do 1 half double crochet. Just 1. We're not going to do any 2 togethers here. So just 1. It's probably kind of tight because we slip stitched over. That's okay. So half double, just 1 into that spot. And now what we're going to do is we're going to end by slip stitching into our first single crochet right here. Not the chain 1, but the first single crochet. Should have a total of 150 stitches. Very important that you have 150 stitches. Now in order to make this a reversible bag, which I want to do, we're going to need to chain 1 and turn our work. So I chained 1, and now I'm turning my work. Alright, so now we're going to do some decreases. So we're going to work a single crochet into the first 8 stitches, and then we're going to do a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So let's go ahead and look real quick. Okay, let's see. We just slip stitched right here into this single crochet. We'll go back into that spot. Sorry. We chained one and returned. Okay, go back into the spot that we just slip stitched into, and we're going to do one single crochet. And then we need to do a single crochet into that half double that was right before it. Remember, we need to do 8 in a row, so that's 2, and then we'll continue across. Gosh, I hate half doubles. I can't ever see what they're doing, what I'm doing here. All right, here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we're going to do a single crochet decrease, which is worked over 2 stitches. So we go into the next stitch and we draw up a loop, and then we'll go into the next stitch and draw up a loop. 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and go through all 3. That turned 2 stitches into 1. So it's just like kind of like the half double that we did, half double decrease, or 2 together, only we did it in single crochet form. And that's what we're going to repeat. So again, 1 single crochet into the next 8. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here is 8, and then we're going to single crochet decrease over the next 2. So we go into the next one, drop a loop, and the one right after that, and drop a loop. 3 loops, yarn over and go through all 3, and repeat again. Single crochet into the next 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, draw up a loop, and then the one after, draw up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over and go through all 3. So I'm going to repeat this pattern of 8 single crochets in a row, and then the single crochet decrease all the way around until we make it back to our starting point. Alright, so when you make it back around to your starting point, you should have ended in a decrease. That should have been your last stitch there. You should have, after your last 8 single crochet in a row, you should have 2 left, and you should have been able to do a decrease over those. And now you want to end by slip stitching into your first single crochet, and you should have 135 stitches now. It's very important that you have that number. Let me make sure I'm getting the right one here. Goodness gracious. Yes. I don't know why this gets so tight on me. Alright. Slip stitch into that, 135 stitches. Let's chain 1 and turn our work. Alright. So now what we're going to do is we are just going to work around of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we're going to call this round 3 of the brim. So round 1 is where we did the single crochets and the half double crochet 2 togethers, or the decreases right there. And then this would be round 2, where we just did the 8 singles in a row and then the single crochet decrease. So that now we're going to call this one row 3 of the brim. And this is just going to be 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Make sure you turn your work though, otherwise it's not going to look very reversible. It's kind of hard to tell where you need to go here, so okay. So I'm going to go right back into this stitch here that I just slip stitched into, and I'm going to single crochet, and then I'm going to work, let me look again here. Okay. Alright, that's my decrease. Alright, this isn't a stitch. We're going to put a single crochet in every stitch around. So no decreasing here on round 3. So it's 1 single in every stitch. And when you make it back around, you still should have 135 stitches. Alright, so remember, just 1 single in every stitch, no decreasing, until you make it back to your starting point. And that's where I'll meet back up with you. Alright, I've come to the end of row 3 of the brim here of a bag, and you should have 135 stitches still. We'll go ahead and slip stitch into our first one. Remember, it's very important that you have that number right now. And then for row 4, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work, and we're going to do a row of decreases again now. So this time we're going to do 7 single crochets in a row, and then we're going to do a decrease over the next 2. So let's kind of look at where we started here. So this is where we just slip stitched into, so that would be number 1. It's a little difficult here in the beginning because I look, especially when you turn your work. So you got to kind of look. So that's number 1. Okay, here we go. So this right here is not a stitch or anything. Okay, so this would be number 2. It's right here. And here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 this time. So remember the last decrease row we did 8. Now we're doing 7 in a row, and then we'll decrease over the next 2 stitches. So go into the next one, draw up a loop, and then into the next one, draw up a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, and go through all 3, just like that. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around for row 4 of the brim portion. So 7 singles in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that would make 7. And again, we're going to single crochet decrease over the next 2. So go into the next one, draw up a loop, and then the next one after that, and draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops on your hook. So I'm going to repeat this pattern for row 4 of the brim. 7 singles in a row, and then our single crochet decrease. 7 singles and a single crochet decrease all the way around, and I'll meet back up with you at our starting point. Alright, I've made it to the end of row 4 of the brim, and your last stitch should have been a decrease stitch, and you should have 120 stitches right now. So we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first single crochet there, and we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And now we're going to work putting just 1 single crochet in every stitch for row 5. So got to kind of look here in the beginning. We slip stitched into that one, that, and then take a quick look here. Alright, and now we're going to work around, and we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Alright, this looks like it's stitch, but it's not. Alright, so I know it looks a little funny. It's just kind of, part of that slip stitch over, but, or that part of that slip stitching into the first stitch. So we went right back into this stitch where we just slip stitched, and we single crochet. So we're going to go right here, and that would be our second single crochet. So that's 2, and we're going to work around putting 1 in every stitch all the way around. This is row 5 of our brim, And when we make it back around, we still should have 120 stitches, all right? So we're not decreasing on this round. Just one single in every stitch. And I'll meet back up with you when we get right back here to our starting point. All right, so I've made it around, and I went ahead and ended with the slip stitch into my first single crochet, and I have my 120 stitches still. Now, if you want to do more rounds on the brim, you can. I'm going to quit there because I'm going to start making something for the straps. So, but you can if you want. Just make sure you turn, I wouldn't do any more decreases, but you can do more rounds of single crochet if you want. Just make sure you turn your work out to every round if you're wanting it to be reversible, so it looks the same on both sides. But I'm going to go ahead and quit here and tie that off after row 5 of the brim. Yeah, 120 stitches. And then I'm going to do something here for the handles. Alright, so there's the bag so far. Now for the handles, you do not have to do them like me. As you've seen in the picture, I used the D-rings and leather handles. You can make straps as well. But for the D-rings, in case you want to do it like me, I put a strap to hook the D-rings on. So you want to start out, whether you're crocheting your own handle or doing these little straps like I did for the D-rings, you want to start out and leave a little bit of a long tail, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches, so you can sew it onto your bag. And start with a slip knot on your hook. Now you can make your handles as thick as you like. Doesn't matter. I actually started with a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I single crocheted in the second stitch from my hook. And then 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain, which will give me 6 single crochets at the end of the row. So that's how big my little straps that my D-rings are attached to. They're 6 single crochets wide. And then I will just chain 1 and turn and single crochet into that very first stitch and put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. So it's just rows of single crochet. Now for those little pieces that you see in the beginning, the bag have, that the D-rings are attached to, have 12 rows of single crochet. There's 4 of them. Each of them have 12 rows of single crochet. So there's 2. I'm going to chain 1 and turn and repeat. 12 rows of 6 single crochet. Now if you want to make your own straps, by all means you could just make this right here as long as you want. You can make 1 strap, 2 straps, 1 long one, 2 long ones, 2 short ones, 2 long ones. It's your bag, you know. You do it however you want. You can buy handles, buy different handles than what I have. It is completely up to you. There's lots of options when it comes to handles. You know what I mean? You don't have to put the D-rings on. You can just sew the handles on. Whatever you choose. But I'm just showing you how the one you've seen in the beginning, the one that I'm making here, is done. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm getting ready to work on my 5th row. So I'm doing 12 rows of 6 single crochet. So that's what I'm doing. And then when I get to my 12th row, what I do is tie it off, but I leave a long tail at the end of that one too. So you got 2 long tails at the end. And this is, like I said, this is 12 rows of 6 single crochets, and you want to make 4 of those. That is you're following along with me. And then I'll show you what we do next. So what we would do here is we would take our bag, and you can count to kind of your brim there and get it, you know, exactly the way you want it. You know, make them exact. I kind of just eyeball it. That's what I do. So I kind of just try to lay it out the best that I can. So there's my base. You know, I kind of just look at it and I eyeball it. I shouldn't, but I do. It's kind of determined that it looks about the same on each side. And then I kind of just follow it up and get this all straightened out. And I'm just guessing that that's probably straight. It probably isn't, but I'm just, you know, I'm just going to say that maybe, hey, maybe in a series of fortunate events. It is, all right? But yeah, you can count it all out if you want, but I'm not going to do that. So then you take your straps that you have for your D-rings here, if you got D-rings, and you will sew these on with a yarn needle, evenly spaced out. So let's see, you can tape measure if you want. Again, I'm not going to do that, but I'll probably go in about 1, 2, I don't know, however far that is. Here, I got a tape measure to be more precise, I guess. So, yeah, exactly 2 inches in is where I started. There's where the handle is from the end. And I'm just going to take it and just sew it onto this side as neatly as possible. Going back and forth. I'm sewing it right on the bottom. The first row here of single crochet that we did. Just kind of in a back and forth method. And you can go across it twice if you want, which I probably will. Extra security, you know, since we're going to be having handles attached to it. Alright, so I'm going to go back again, cross in the opposite direction, you know, just to make sure, you know, it doesn't, just want your handles falling off while you're walking. That'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? Gosh, especially if you have a lot of stuff in your bag. Can't have that happening. And you even go across the third time if you feel like, you know, you need some extra. You can also come up here and sew it on a little more. Maybe I'll do that. Come up through and kind of just go across the, if you got enough. Like that, you know, kind of hold it down. Just whatever you want to do to make it feel like that it's, you know, being held down good. That's what you do. Well, I don't want that, but until you run out of tail, which I'm about ready to, so I'm just gonna probably call that quits. I can do some more on the other side. So then you would hide this tail here in the back to where you know it's not going to come undone. Knot it up a couple times. Weave it in a few times, knot it a couple times. And then what you would do is you would take your D-ring, if you're using the D-ring, and you want to put that on before you sewed in your other part. So slide it on like this. See that? And then you got this piece right here. Now this piece folds onto the same side, or onto the same piece at the front, but to the back like that. So you got your D-ring strap like that. So this one sews on the same way. You can just line it up with the one that you already did and sew it there. Just make sure your D-ring's there. I gotta cut that off. Let me cut this tail off real quick. What are you doing, tail? You're driving me crazy. Alright. Okay. Okay, so you got your D-ring on. And you take this and we're just gonna sew it. Line it up in the same spot as the one that's in front. Get it to the best of your ability into the same, about the same spot. And sew it on. If you want, you can actually go into the front all the way through like that. Extra, hey, extra stability, right? Ain't nothing wrong with a little extra stability. Everybody can use that from time to time. There we go. Now we know it. Now we know it's not coming off because we're doing, it just ain't. There's no way it's coming off. And this is how we're going to sew all 4 of them on. We're just going to do our best to get them evenly spaced out, you know, how we want them. I'm going to go up the side of this one actually and hook it onto the side of this one back here. See that? Yeah. Extra stability. There we go. Yeah. We just don't want to close up. We don't want to go past the top, okay? Because we want to leave that open there for the D-ring to move around. But yeah, get that all. And then you can go across the top here. Whatever you want to do to make sure that piece does not come off or you're walking. Yeah, and then once this one's done, we'll move on to the next one. Keep them about the same distance apart, you know. We don't want, you know, so they don't look too crooked or anything. And once you feel like that's secure, you can hide your tail on that one. And that one will be finished. That one is. I'm going to hide mine in the back, though. I guess it doesn't matter because it's reversible. So the back is the front and the front is the back. Alright? Alright, get your tails hidden. And then don't ask me what I'm doing, I don't even know. I just don't want it to come undone, you know. That would just be so embarrassing. Not only would all your stuff spill, I'd feel like a bad bag maker. Does handles fall off while you're walking? Alright. So, get that all. That's good. That's good. I'm done with that. Now, that one's good. It ain't coming undone. So there's that one. See that? It's good. So now we can hook our strap to it. Or one of our straps to it. Like that. And since this is twisty, this one, particular one, it's reversible. So when you flip it, you should flip around to the other side. Alright, anyways, move that out of the way. So what you want to do now, so you got that one on. This one do the same to the other 3 sides. So you could take your tape and you can go in 2 inches and sew this one on in the same spot in the same manner. Then you flip your bag over, or you could leave it in the same spot that it's in. And take your other 2 pieces here and get them lined up with this one and sew them on in the same manner that we sewed this one on. So you'll have 4 straps and the 4 D-rings, and they should all line up with each other. Alright? That is if you want to do that. Now you can make your handles really long, like I said, and attach them wherever you want, or you can make it 2 short ones. It's up to you. It's your bag. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this part out, and then we'll be about finished. Alright, here's the bag. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to show me a picture on my Bagoday Crochet Facebook page. And don't forget to check out the hat. Link below in the description box. Got to have the hat to match the bag, right? Got to. Alright, I'll see you guys on my next video. I hope that you enjoyed. Take care. Bye, guys.